On a moonless night in the middle of the ocean, when the ship's hull groans like an animal and the water is as black as ink, sailors swear they sometimes see her. A pale face emerging between the waves, long hair clinging to wet skin, a pair of eyes gleaming like cold stars. She does not need to speak. Just one look is enough to make a hardened seaman forget where he is, lean a little too far over the railing, and disappear forever into the dark water. Is she a monster that lures people to their deaths, or a misunderstood being bearing all the hunger, loneliness, and desire that humans throw into the sea and never dare to face? For thousands of years, the mermaid has haunted the imagination of those who live by the water. From the Mediterranean to the North Atlantic, from the tropical coasts to the icy northern seas, wherever there are people and an endless horizon, there are stories about half-woman, half-fish beings who sing in the night. Sailors, fishermen, merchants, warriors on long ships heading into the unknown, all carry in their hearts a strange mix of fear and fascination. They curse the mermaid as an omen of shipwreck, yet they cannot stop telling stories about her by the fire when the wind howls outside and the waves pound the shore. The ocean is an enormous emptiness, and every emptiness invites stories. Before humans had maps, GPS, and weather forecasts, the sea was a living mystery. No one knew what lay beneath the dark surface, what creatures prowled in the depths, what forces decided who would return to port and who would never be seen again. Out of that boundless fear and ignorance, the mermaid appears as one of the most powerful images. A shape that is half familiar, half foreign, standing right at the boundary between human world and abyss. She is the face that the sea wears when it wants to look back at us. The idea of a hybrid creature, half human, half beast, is not unique to any single people. The Babylonians had Oannes, a fish-bodied deity with a human head. The Syrians revered a Targaitis, a goddess depicted with a woman's torso and a fish tail. In ancient Greece, early depictions of sirens showed them as bird women, but over time, sirens and mermaids began to blend together in the popular imagination. These beings all share one trait. They belong to two worlds at once. They are never completely ours and never entirely of the sea. That in-between state is exactly what makes them so unsettling and so compelling. When Christianity spread across Europe, many older symbols were repainted with new moral colors. The mermaid, who in some early coastal cultures may have been a protector of sailors or a goddess of fertility and the sea's bounty, was gradually recast as a temptress, a living warning against lust and lack of self-control. Medieval churches even carved mermaids into stone columns and wooden pews, holding mirrors and combs as emblems of vanity. In those carvings, she is no longer an ambiguous force of nature, but a clear moral lesson. Look too long at beauty, follow the call of pleasure, and you will lose your soul, or at least your life. Yet even while moralists turned the mermaid into a symbol of sin, sailors' tales refused to be so simple. Old logbooks and travel accounts mention encounters with sea women, not only as threats, but also as omens, as guides, even as tragic beings. In some Nordic stories, a mermaid warns fishermen of an oncoming storm. In others, she sits on a rock, combing her hair and singing, and those who listen closely hear not seduction, but sorrow. She becomes a mirror in which men confront their own desires, their longing for home, their fear of death, and their wish to escape everything and vanish into the waves. In northern waters, where the sea is gray and cold and winter nights seem endless, the mermaid takes on a darker, more melancholic face. Scandinavian lore speaks of havfru, sea women, and related beings like selkies, seal folk who can shed their skins and walk on land as humans. These stories often revolve around impossible love and broken belonging. A man steals a Selkie's skin and forces her to live with him, but her gaze always turns toward the sea, and one day she finds the hidden skin and disappears forever. Behind these tales is a deep anxiety about trying to own what is wild and about the pain of living between two worlds. Throughout the British Isles, Ireland, and coastal Europe, there are countless local variants of the mermaid myth. Some communities see her as a harbinger of storms. If she appears near the coast, fishermen should stay in port. Others regard her as a guardian of certain coves and reefs, punishing arrogant ships that dare cut through sacred waters. There are even stories where mermaids marry humans, settle on land for a time, bear children, that are called back by the ocean. The children grow up never fully at ease on land, always hearing a distant roar in their blood. Through these tales, people express the restless pull between safety on shore and the lure of the horizon. The ocean in all these myths is not merely a backdrop. It is the true protagonist. Storms, currents, hidden reefs, and sudden calms decide human fate more than any god or monster. The mermaid is a way to talk to that enormous power in a human language. When a ship sinks for no apparent reason, when a skilled sailor suddenly missteps and vanishes, when treasure is lost on a bright day with no storm in sight, people look for meaning. Saying the mermaid called him might be a story, but it is also a way of admitting that there are forces in this world that we cannot negotiate with or fully understand. At the same time, the mermaid is more than just an explanation for accidents at sea. She condenses many layers of human experience into one compelling figure. She is the danger of beauty, the hunger for the unknown, the terror and seduction of freedom. She represents the call to leave everything behind and dive into a realm with no laws, no clocks, no obligations, and the awareness that such a choice usually does not end well. Every time a sailor stands alone on deck at night, staring into the black water and feeling something stir inside, the mermaid is there, even if he never sees her. There is also a quieter, more intimate side to the legend. In some stories, the mermaid is not the hunter, but the lonely one. She watches humans from afar, fascinated by their fires, their laughter, the way they dance on land, the way they build homes instead of just drifting. She longs for legs to walk, for lungs to breathe the same air, for a voice that can be heard above the waves. In those tales, she is not simply the danger that threatens sailors, but a creature paying the price of being different, forever barred from belonging to either world. Few stories capture this tragedy as clearly as the famous tale of the mermaid who falls in love with a human prince and gives up her voice to become human. In exchange for the chance to walk on land, she accepts that every step will feel like walking on knives, and if she fails to win his love, she will disappear like foam on the waves. Whether we know this story from old European variants or from later retellings, the core is the same. To cross a boundary, she has to sacrifice something essential. The love she seeks and the world she yearns to join demand that she silence the very song that defines who she is. The power of that story lies not only in romance, but in what it reveals about the cost of transformation. How many people, in pursuit of a dream, a relationship, or acceptance by society, have given up parts of themselves, their language, their beliefs, their roots, their voice? The mermaid who trades her song for legs is not just a character on a page. She becomes a symbol for anyone who has ever felt that to be loved or to fit in, they must amputate some irreducible part of their own identity, and who then discovers that even such sacrifice does not guarantee happiness. Over time, as the world changed, the image of the mermaid also changed. The harsher, more terrifying siren of ancient and medieval tales slowly softened in many popular retellings. In children's books and animated films, the mermaid turns into a curious, brave, charming girl, more victim than predator. Her world under the sea is bright and colorful, full of friendly fish and cheerful songs. This version is easier to market, easier to decorate mugs and t-shirts with, easier to dress up as for parties. But along the way, much of the original darkness and ambiguity is stripped away. And yet, the old core does not disappear completely. Even in the sweetest versions, there remains a tension between the safe, ordered world of humans and the vast, unpredictable sea, between the life chosen for her and the life she secretly desires, between the promise of a fairy tale ending and the reality that some wounds do not heal just because a song swells at the right moment. The Mermaid continues to carry questions about freedom, obedience, and what it means to write your own story instead of living in one written for you. Outside of art and myth, the mermaid has also become a powerful advertising symbol. A stylized mermaid, simplified into a logo, invites you to buy coffee, cosmetics, cruises, countless products and services. The message is subtle but effective. Here is the taste of the sea, of adventure, of something wild tied up nicely in a brand you can hold in your hand. The ancient figure that once lured ships to their destruction now lures customers into stores and onto websites. The dangerous edge is dulled, but the underlying promise remains. You too can escape the grayness of daily life, if only for a moment. This commercialization, however, also highlights a contrast. The real origin of the mermaid myth comes from people who lived with genuine risk, who looked at the horizon every day, knowing that life and death could hinge on a change of wind. The modern mermaid printed on cups, posters, and beach towels decorates a world where the ocean is, for many, just a vacation backdrop. The more we turn her into a cute icon, the easier it is to forget that the sea is still claiming lives, that ships still sink, that storms still come without mercy, and that the unknown has not vanished simply because satellites watch from above. In recent decades, the mermaid has begun to carry yet another layer of meaning. As awareness grows about pollution, overfishing, and climate change, she becomes a silent witness to the wounds we are inflicting on the oceans. Imagine that ancient figure swimming now through waters choked with plastic, nets, and oil. The sea that once inspired fear because it was too wild and powerful, now inspires fear because it is being poisoned and emptied. The mermaid, who once embodied the danger of nature, now also symbolizes the danger we pose to nature. In this new light, some artists and storytellers depict mermaids tangled in nets, struggling among trash, or staring at bleached coral with grief in their eyes. The question shifts. Not, will the mermaid drown us? But what have we done to the world that created her? If the ocean dies, then all the stories born from it, including hers, will become nothing more than museum pieces. The mermaid's continued presence in our imagination is a fragile thread connecting us to the waters we depend on more than we admit. Behind all the horror and beauty, behind the songs and shipwrecks, the mermaid is also a figure of divided belonging. She is never fully at home anywhere. In the human world, she is a monster or an outsider. In the deep, she carries too many human traits to dissolve completely into animal instinct. This feeling of never quite fitting into any group, any culture, any place is surprisingly common in a world where more and more people move between countries, languages, and social classes. The mermaid's body is a visible metaphor for an invisible emotional state. The tension between fear and desire, safety and danger, shore and sea, runs through every version of her story. Stay on land, and you are safe but caged. Follow the call of the waves, and you may find something grander than anything you have known. Or you may vanish forever. The mermaid stands right at that border, neither telling you to stay nor to go, but forcing you to admit that the choice is yours. She does not come with moral instructions. She simply exists, and her existence demands that we confront the things we would rather not name. There is a reason why, on ships crossing major shipping lanes today, in steel hulls guided by radar and satellite, sailors still tell tales of women in the water, of shapes seen in the corner of the eye. Technology has changed the way we travel, but the feeling of standing alone under a huge sky above a black sea has not changed very much in thousands of years. In that moment, with the wind in your ears and the waves smashing against the hull, the ancient question returns: who is watching you from below? And what in you is being called by that gaze? The mermaid, in the end, is not just a monster, not just a lovely girl with a tail, not just a fairy tale princess or a brand mascot. She is a knot where many threads of human experience meet: fear of death, desire for freedom, temptation of escape, cost of transformation, loneliness of the outsider, violence we do to nature, nostalgia for a world that is bigger than our screens and schedules. When we look at her, we are also looking at the parts of ourselves that we throw into the sea because we do not know where else to put them. That is why the mermaid refuses to die, no matter how many centuries pass. Empires rise and fall, trade routes shift, religions come and go, but as long as there are people crossing water, she will be there, just beyond the reach of the lantern light. Sometimes she appears as a shimmering form on a distant rock. Sometimes she is only a feeling in the gut, a whisper in the wind, a flash of movement under the waves. She carries with her all the stories that have ever been told about her, and all the questions that have never been answered. So the next time you find yourself on a beach at night, listening to the endless breathing of the sea, or on a ship looking out into the dark, imagine that something is looking back. Maybe you will not see a face or hear a song. Maybe all you will feel is a strange pull in your chest, a vague sorrow mixed with a wild longing. That is her domain. That is where the mermaid lives, not only in the depths of the ocean, but in the deep water inside us, where fear and desire mingle, and where, in spite of everything we know, we still cannot help being haunted by a legend born from waves. And somewhere out there, in that meeting point between water and sky, between story and reality, the mermaid continues to swim alongside the ships of the world. She says nothing. She does not need to. Humans will keep adding new meanings to her, keep painting and filming and rewriting her, keep arguing about whether she is good or evil, victim or predator. But the sea, indifferent and immense, simply reflects her back to us like the moon on the waves. Perhaps the most unsettling truth is this: in the legend of the mermaid, the real mystery is not what she is, but what we reveal about ourselves when we look at her too long.